Black people, specifically Black Americans, will not want to hear this, but y'all should stop calling out non-black people for wearing braids, because that hairstyle have existed in various cultures for thousands of years. The online black community. They can stop crying, whitening, and guilt-tripping people. And since Asian people, specifically South Korean and Japan, are becoming more and more popular in America and worldwide, their latest attempt to guilt-trip and silence people is calling them out for wearing braids. It's about time that someone exposed their lies. Black people that spend their time online are the worst. They are widely uneducated and love spreading misinformation. Next time that a black person, particularly a black American, are guilt-tripping you and calling you out for wearing braids and are calling those people racist, colored, and all the other is in the book, shut them down. In that video, I'm gonna give you other arguments that you need to do so. Firstly, braid is a hairstyle, not a culture. Secondly, they weren't invented by black people, but by Africans. Thirdly, they have existed in multiple cultures and different continents, including Asia and Europe, for thousands of years. Now, what I'm gonna do is go over each braiding style so you can recognize them and when you see it. Braids is a hairstyle that was created by African people, specifically African people from South Africa that live in Namibia, which is dated back to around 3000 before Christ. This braiding style was first introduced by the Khoisan people of South Africa, who later embraced it. But braids weren't a specific fashion hairstyle until the 90s, when it was popularized by the R&B musician Janet Jackson. However, it's important to note that this hairstyle up to that point have been a thing for centuries among the African diaspora, adopted specifically as their heritage and for its protective qualities for hair. Box braids are often regarded in various countries among black people as a sign of beauty and elegance, but box braids are also used in other cultures. Box braids entered in the Asian culture due to hip-hop in the late 20th century. Japan was the first Asian country where braiding styles like cornrows, dreadlocks, and box braids appeared due to the popularity of reggae, dancehall, and hip-hop movement that was growing in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. Japanese people adopted it as a part of their global streetwear fashion. Box braids became a thing in South Korea in the late 90s due to, one more time, the growing influence that hip-hop was having in various cultures. They became a thing specifically with the K-hip-hop movement was created. In China, box braid became a thing in the late 2000s, one more time, due to the worldwide influence of hip-hop. It comes to box braids, there are some valid points to be made about cultural awareness and cultural appreciation. So black people do have the right to color non-black people where they wear both braids. However, they should not act as if this was their duty, since this is not a cultural hairstyle for black people. It's really simple. It's a black people hairstyle. If you are not black, you don't wear them. Point blank, as they say. In case you decide to not follow my advice, then you should at least be educated about it. And you are lucky because you are currently in a class about that. So cornrows are their origin in Africa, where they are considered a cultural hairstyle that is dated back to the ancient times. They are believed to have been developed in response to the unique texture of African hair. They were often used during Atlantic trading times and slavery to convey messages of identity as a way to remind enslaved Africans of their roots and to communicate escape plans, which can we acknowledge that this is a really intelligent thing to do? I mean, our ancestors were using hairstyle to communicate escape plan, which prove you that they are genuinely some of the most intelligent people, and that not because you are a descendant of them that you should behave as less as somebody else. Sorry, going back on topic. Depending on which African cultures, cornrows were used to convey messages of beauty, conscience, or power. For example, in the West African societies, among the Wolof of Senegal and the Yoruba of Nigeria, this hairstyle can signal your social status or wealth. Among the Imba of Namibia, cornrows often linked to life stages, children, married women, and the elders often wear different types of cornrows. And in many African societies, cornrows are still used as a symbol of beauty, patience, and creativity. Finally, in the black communities all around the world, cornrows are a way to do communal activities. Friends, mothers, sisters are often seen braiding each other's hair. If you are not black, you should avoid wearing cornrows, and in case you still do it, then you should be aware of its meaning for black people. Dreadlocks, one more time, black people hairstyle dated in Africa. The practice of wearing dreadlocks dates back to 3000 before Christ in the Sahara Desert. The Kikuyu and the Somalis wore braided and locked hairstyle. I don't have much more info for dreadlocks except for the fact that 1. Asian people, specifically Indians, are known to have a hairstyle called jata in India that look similar to dreadlocks but are in fact not dreadlocks. So if you spot an Indian person wearing jata, it's their culture, so don't call them out. And if you see any black person calling those Indian people out for wearing the jata, you should call those people out for hypocrisy. And the second thing is that Egyptian people are in fact also known for wearing dreadlocks since the ancient time, which means that since the time pharaohs were a thing in India. Dreadlock is an hairstyle that was worn by both black people and Egyptian people since the ancient time. So this is not specifically a black people hairstyle. But still, if you are not black or Egyptian, you shouldn't wear dreadlocks, or you should be educated on the topic. So now let's talk about Europe, and specifically about braids in Europe. So firstly, Dutch braids, often called reverse French braids, are not historically Dutch, but the name came from Western styling terminology because the style became popular at the beginning of the 19th century, but was around since the ancient times of the Vikings. Vikings wore braids, and Viking braids are really different from African or black people braids because African braids are known to be more difficult to do. Meanwhile, the braiding style of the Viking is quite simple and often seen as a decorative hairstyle. Not only that, but this hairstyle isn't even called braids because in fact they are not braids. Like I said, they are called twists in Europe or twists in French. So basically, when you see black people, specifically black Americans, crying and whining about the fact that Europeans couldn't wear braids, shut them down, since European people are in fact not wearing braids, but they are an hairstyle which is around since the ancient time. And now that you have all the facts in your possession, next time that you see black people just calling any hairstyle braids, call them out because this is the first red flags.